Hey there, travelers. Mag and I here on day 43 of our trip across the United States. We're shooting here from Blue River Memorial Park, just on the edge of Shelbyville. The morning started off pretty rainy and cloudy, but it looks like it's clearing up now, and despite the humidity, it's probably going to be a pretty beautiful day. Aichan and I are excited about our first full day in Indiana, and we've got 5 full days in the state before we head on up north to Michigan. There's definitely a lot to see and explore. We've got a lot of virtuals on the list today, so we're expecting a lot of cool historic sites, statues, buildings, and things like that. I know today's going to have a lot of good stuff in store, so let's go see exactly what that is. Come on!
It may have been raining to start the day, but you gotta love the sunrise after. Our first official stop of the day was Liberty in Union County. At this time of morning on a weekend, I had the place completely to myself, which was great because I dared just for a moment to dream that I was the only person in town. We took a look at a few of the murals down Main Street before making our way over to West Point Cemetery. Fun fact, there are actually a lot of geocaches hidden in and around cemeteries. I could not even begin to count how many cemeteries I've seen in the last 6 weeks. I tend not to feature them, but this one for Vivian was too good to pass up. I've never seen another monument quite like this. And then we were off to go explore Shelbyville. Our first stop in town was the Blue River Memorial Park. This 186-acre park is nestled right up alongside the Little Blue River. In addition to the softball fields and playground, it also features 20 acres of quail and butterfly habitats on the south side of the park. Of course, the main draw for us was the Cloverfield Bridge. This 93-foot-long bridge was constructed in 1889 and stayed in commission until 2011. It was reassembled here in the park in 2019. Our foray into the heart of Shelbyville was no less exciting than the park. Of course, we had to get things started off at the courthouse. The first of many earth caches today by BR Cross 95. This statue was inspired by the Bears of Blue River, written in 1901. It sits center stage right in the middle of town. You could tell that there was a lot going on in Shelbyville, with a lot of traffic and food vendors set up in every direction. Seems like a great place to spend the weekend. Greensburg offered us a very unexpected treat. As we rolled into town, I noticed an adventure lab that focused on the murals around the city. That was all I needed to know. We bounced from one small street to the next, hunting down each of these murals spread around town. They led us closer and closer to the heart of the city. And before we knew it, we'd reached another courthouse building. Many courthouses seem to feature their veterans memorials off to one side or the other, but not here. They had this front and center stage. Not to worry though, even if it was hidden out of the way, you know Aichan and I will never pass up a veterans memorial. Our last stop on the way out of Greensburg was Rebecca Park. This spot was particularly nice because it featured a double mural on each side of this building, a 2-for-1 special. And they did have a small playground open with children playing on it, but it was this new playground under construction that really caught my eye. This is going to be a real gem when it opens for business. We didn't actually have any geocache targets in Osgood, but when I saw the center of the downtown area, I just had to stop. You might say it was too Osgood to pass up. The way that this pathway ran directly into the mural reminded me of a Wile E. Coyote cartoon. But no coyotes or roadrunners to be found here, just this big old guy. And I assure you, I am not lying about that. Aichan woke up from her mid-morning nap just in time for a walk at Muskatuck Park in North Vernon. We parked at the old vinegar mill and then hiked down the stairs onto the trailhead. It was really quite an impressive sight. We hiked out across this bridge and crossed the small river to get to the geocache on the other side. Yeah, I know, it sounds like the setup for a joke, right? The only joke here, though, was that Aichan and I thought we would find more than one cache at the trailhead. As we hiked a little bit further into the park, though, we quickly discovered that the conditions were a little more rugged than the dog was ready for today. As we hiked our way down the center of the creek and went to cross this old log, Ai-chan told me that this was probably far enough for the both of us. Then she promptly turned around and headed back where we came from. No thanks, Mag. Not today. Let's try something else. So we contented ourselves with looking around the other side of the trail for a little bit and soaking in this peaceful view of the river before heading on to our next destination. Welcome to Columbus, Indiana. Now this is a city that I wish we had more time to see. Even though we'd set aside a few hours to explore, and we used all that time, it just wasn't enough. The thing that stood out most for us though, quite literally, was the memorial on the south lawn of the Bartholomew County Courthouse. Each one of the 25 pillars of Indiana limestone you see here are inscribed with letters and diary entries from veterans during 20th century wars. There were a lot of statues, but some stood out more than others. And then we polished off our trip to the city with a quick run around Mill Race. It was the covered bridge here, the very first geocache in the county, that brought us to the park. But it was the viewpoints all along the river that kept us here longer than we had intended. There was still more to see and do, but alas, we had to cut our time short and get moving. Our very last stop of the day was the city of Franklin. Once again, we found ourselves at an old courthouse building, but this was really just an appetizer to what the area had to offer. The Hendricks log cabin, built back in 1835, is just a hop and a skip away, which is probably only 300 feet from the entrance to Artcraft Alley. It started raining down on us from there, so we headed over to Province Park. As luck would have it, this was the perfect decision. The rainfall had really gotten the water moving along Hurricane Creek, so we climbed up onto this old bridge so that we could get a much better look at it. Even Ai-chan seemed impressed by the water flow here, and there's not much that impresses her. Then for our very last stop, just as the light of the day was failing, we made our way into Franklin College. Good old Benjamin Franklin was standing there ready to greet us. But that man is quick as lightning because he was already sitting around waiting for us our next stop too. And then the setting sun brought an end to yet another great day on the road for Ai-chan and I.
Well, wouldn't you know it, just like that, another day on the road comes to an abrupt end. Ai-chan and I have had a good day for our first day out here in Indiana. It started off rainy this morning, but it cleared up by the time we reached Rushville. After that, we had smooth sailing through our day, lots of great sights to see along the way, and it really started to get hot and heavy when we reached Columbus. There was a lot to see and do in Columbus, and we ended up having to cut our time a little short so that we could make it to Franklin with daylight because we had stuff we wanted to do here as well. Tomorrow should be a very similar day. We're looking at about 200 miles, a very similar course. We're going to start our day in Bloomington, and we'll end our day with a series of challenges just like we did yesterday. I'm looking forward to 4 more days of fun in Indiana, and I hope you are too. Like this video, subscribe to this channel for daily updates, and we'll see you out on the trails.